All seems well at the Crystarium.
Yes. Ylmor was plainly more concerned with finding us. How flattering.
You certainly took your time. I had half resolved to complete the task myself.
And you are...
Were one to study the annals of Garlean history, one would find yonder visage on many a page. Though by rights its youth should long since have faded.
Well, well, we have a historian in our midst. That spares me a lengthy explanation. I am Solus Sos Galvus, founding father of the Garlean Empire, and under various guises, the architect of myriad other imperially inclined nations. As for my true identity... I am Emmet Selk, Ascian.
Gaius spoke of you, a native of the Source.
Equal in rank to Eorzean. And you came all this way just to introduce yourself to us?
Behold the sky, restored to its former glory. Have you ever seen a more affecting spectacle? Oh, it is truly, deeply... infuriating. Do you have any idea how much you have delayed the rejoining? Following the flood, the First had been listing ever further towards the light, towards stasis. The end was in sight. Enter man and his indomitable spirit. He would haul the world back from the brink. And adding his lumpen weight to the power of growth, he duly tipped the scales, if only by a fraction. Yet a fraction was enough to spoil the perfect imbalance needed to bring about a rejoining. Had mankind continued to live in idleness under Vorthri's rule, all the conditions would have been met. But you had to come and ruin it all. Thanks to your meddling, light supremacy is in doubt, and our painstakingly laid plans are in tatters!
Well, I should begin by thanking you for confirming Urianger's theories on the inner workings of the Calamity. He will be most pleased. As for what happens next, might I suggest you admit defeat and walk away?
Happy to let me go, are you? Because the murderous glint in your eye suggests otherwise. Indeed, it is enough to make me think better of confronting you alone. Look, it did cross my mind to simply side with Vorthri and kill you all. But that's no different from what Eorzean did. And we all know how well that ended for him. And so, while it is liable to be troublesome, I have settled upon a different approach. cooperation. I will not raise a hand to hinder your hunt for the Light Wardens. If you desire it, I will even lend you my knowledge and strength.
Since time immemorial, you and yours have labored to rejoin the 13 shards, at the cost of countless lives. Do you expect us to believe that your objective has suddenly changed?
Nay, our objective is the same as it ever was. Though I dare say, you do not know our motive. A war waged without knowledge of the enemy is no war. It is mere bloodletting. Just once, might we not seek to find common ground? For good or ill, I am immortal. Provided I have the inclination, I can always begin anew, scheme and conspire to my heart's content. But this time I thought that I might instead try to see eye to eye, to understand what drives the hero of the source, to determine if our goals are truly incompatible. So come, shed your preconceptions. See beyond the unscrupulous villains you take us for. When all is said and done, we may find ourselves pleasantly surprised. The proud discoverers of a path of cooperation rather than opposition. Think of it.
Thou hast delivered thy proposal, and we would not dismiss it outright. If I may offer thee counsel, however, to make thy case via an illusion reflecteth poorly upon thy sincerity.
My apologies. You will forgive me if I'm not entirely at ease in the presence of a famed Eorzean slayer. I felt it only prudent to take precautions. Nonetheless, your counsel is duly noted. I take my leave, friends. Rest assured, we shall meet again soon.
From the Exarch, is it? With that mirror of his, he can watch your every move, you know. He'll probably think you're talking to yourself. Still, he's keeping you well fed. Judging by his people's faith in him, he seems to be a decent sort. But so much about him remains shrouded in mystery. Like, what was he doing back in my day? There was no such person when I was around. A lot's happened since the Flood, though. Since I was set adrift. I know little more than you do of this city's history in the Exarch's past. Not that it matters. It's Emmett's Selk we should be concerned about. When our world was about to be consumed by light, the Eorzean in white appeared before us. He said that the only way for us to live on was to bring about the rejoining. Desperate as we were, we heeded his words, not realizing that the Flood was of the Eorzean's own making. They cannot be trusted, None of them. But Emet-Selch had one thing right. One should not fight blindly. That's what we did. And it cost us everything we held dear. What? What about Seto? What is there to say? All right. I'm growing. When we were traveling together, he was nowhere near as big. And he obviously couldn't speak. I had no idea how much that medallion meant to him. What about you, anyway? You must have a friend like Seto. Chocobo, perhaps? Come on, you tell me something for a change.
Ah, there you are. You're just in time to welcome our guest.
Please. Did I not explicitly tell you that we would be meeting again soon? Lest you forget, I made you a promise. I have no intention of meddling with your mission. I come only to observe. Your Exarch friend in particular has piqued my curiosity. Summoning you all like that. Most impressive.
You honestly expect us to believe you've come only to observe? Or that you might deign to lift a finger to aid our cause if called upon? Even if there were a sliver of truth in your words, I would never accept your help. Not in my darkest hour. Not after all the suffering your kind has wrought.
So petty. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. Wage your war against the Sin Eaters, put each and every Light Warden to the sword, prove yourselves heroes, brave and true, and I will be glad to embrace you as allies. Allies worthy of bearing the burden of truth. Surely such a partnership would be preferable to yet another round of fisticuffs. And thus did the olive branch wither and die. Pity. Well, let no man say I did not try, futile as it was. Though I suspect you will seek me out when you grow tired of making the same mistakes. Difficult decisions lie ahead of you. Decisions best made with the benefit of knowledge to which only the Eternal are privy. For now, I shall resume my shadowy vigil. Whatever you choose to do, make sure it's worth watching, would you?
What was that all about?
A vain attempt to make us doubt our chosen course, most like. As if we'd believe a word that passed his lips. Unless you think there is some truth in what he says.
If he simply meant to lead us astray, he could have done so without revealing himself. At least, not in the manner he did. It goes without saying that an alliance with the Ascians is out of the question. But since we have no way of knowing where they might be hiding, it seems only logical to press on with our mission, even if our enemy seems content for it to succeed.
Then let us discuss the Sin Eaters. I would begin by thanking you all for your efforts thus far. In striking down the Light Wardens of Lakeland and Ilmeg, you have accomplished more in your short time here than all of our forces managed in the last century.
That may be, but the Wardens of Calusia, Armareng, and Raktika remain.
Indeed, and their precise whereabouts are as yet unknown. Which is why I propose we divide our forces and conduct a systematic survey of each region. Once we have found our quarry, we may then determine how best to proceed.
I'll take Armareng in that case. I know the lie of the land well enough.
If there are no objections, I will make for Calusia. I have connections there both in and around Yulmore that may prove useful.
Then I would ask that you journey to Raktika. There you will find Y'shtola. With her assistance, I doubt the Warden will evade your grasp for long.
Is Y'shtola the conjurer you and Urianger used to talk about?
That's right. Though we haven't spoken much since she left for the forest.
I fear I may be to blame for that. I had every intention of relaying the news of your arrival, but she is disinclined to speak with me. You have visited her, have you not? Might I trouble you to...
'Twould be no trouble.
My thanks. While you are all out in the field, I shall be here attending to business. I had somewhat fancifully contemplated joining the search myself, but other matters demand my attention.
What's that?
A missive from Lord Vorthry. He invites me to join him in Yulmore to discuss the recent conflict at Lida Luran.
And? Did he even bother to offer any bait? It's obviously a trap.
I should be surprised if it were not. Nevertheless, I must seize this opportunity to speak with him, even if only a few words are exchanged. Though my power will be much diminished so far from the tower, it is a risk I am willing to take. Master Alphinaud, might I impose upon you to accompany me to Yulmore prior to beginning your reconnaissance?
Of course.
Then let us make ready. Safe travels to you all.
No matter how far he goes, man cannot resist looking back on the path he has walked. The untold stories and secrets of the past can be more alluring than the promise of tomorrow. And so he braves the forests of Raktika in search of mystery and wonder. of Ronka, to which all seekers of hidden truths are inevitably drawn.
We have arrived. Vast though these woods may be, they are, by and large, uninhabitable. Not so the swamps of Cydia, however, whose sparse foliage permitted man a foothold.
No lands must remain beyond our grasp. Go forth, conquer, rule!
Forgive me. A sudden pang of nostalgia for those halcyon days. Exploring virgin territories, subjugating primitive peoples,
All for the glory of Garlemald.
If you've brought your ivory standard, I'll be happy to tell you where to stick it.
Can we not simply take a moment to enjoy the view together? Or would you rather I spied on you from the shadows? Much more of this, and I may very well begin to regret my show of good faith.
If you really want to stay, then help us fight.
No, I think not. I am an observer, nothing more. Even shielded by the shadows of these boughs, I feel the light's presence most keenly. To accompany you is taxing enough. To fight is out of the question.
I will suffer your company if I must, but not your commentary.
I see little sign of recent activity, nor hath any meaningful progress been made with the reconstruction. Mayhap Y'shtola sought shelter elsewhere. Come, let us quit this place.
Now, surround them!
These senators, they're not like the others.
There's a reason for that. Lower your weapons, please. We mean you no harm.
How is it they can speak?
It's a Sin Eater trick. They mean to kill us all.
That will seem a lot less amusing when we are forced to kill them.
Oh, for the love of... I had hoped that by accompanying you, we might come to understand one another. But all I have come to understand is that you have a knack for inflaming the natives. You've committed the cardinal sin of boring me. And so, I retire to the shade. Good luck.
There! Did you see that one disappear?
think I preferred La Habrea.
Enough. Runar, report.
Master Matoya! We apprehended them as you ordered, but are you certain these are Sin Eaters?
The intense light of the ether I saw was unmistakable. If not Sin Eaters, then what?
'Tis passing queer that Y'shtola should mistake us for the enemy, is it not? Mayhap it hath been too long since last she beheld the radiance of thine ether. Master Matoya, hath time truly made strangers of us?
Nay, I recognize you, Eorzean, Thancred. And this is Minfilia of the First, of whom you spoke before.
Just so. And knowing as thou must that we come in peace, might I prevail upon thee to have thy comrades lower their arms?
First explain this other presence in your company. The one I know not. There is but one manner of creature in this world whose ether is suffused with such an abundance of light.
Mine apologies, Master Matoya, but thou art mistaken. Before thee standeth our dearest comrade, the truest hero among us. Though he is but recently arrived here in the First, not one but two Light Wardens have already perished by his most puissant hand.
It cannot be.
Master Matoya?
Lower your weapons. Forgive us this hostile welcome. Come. I would give you a proper introduction to Raktika and its people. Slitherbough is the largest of the Blessed Settlements. They worship no gods, instead revering darkness itself. It is a curious kind of faith, but one which has granted them the strength to persevere in the wake of the Flood. I hope you weren't expecting a grand feast by way of welcome. They are a simple people. Now, I would hear of your travels away from prying ears. Come. I see. And now you seek the Light Warden of Raktika. In the days after I arrived in the First, I too relied upon the Crystal Exarch for guidance. But his penchant for secrecy and the telling of half-truths soon lost him my trust. And thus did I strike out on my own. My work eventually led me here to the forest, which I have come to know like the back of my hand. I cannot say with certainty where your quarry is hiding, but I am confident I can narrow the search.
Well, go on then.
Some few thousand years ago, this forest stood at the heart of the Empire of Ronka. A great many relics of that civilization can still be found to the east in Ixmaya. Or rather, could be found, were the area not fiercely guarded. Ixmaya, you see, is home to a tribe of warriors whose lineage is said to date back to the time of the Empire. Any attempt to enter their territory is met with lethal force. They offer no warnings, and suffer no trespasser to escape. Needless to say, my every attempt to survey the area has been thwarted.
Mayhap the Warden hideth there, full knowing none may approach it for fear of these protectors.
As for the tablet, I find the timing of its discovery suspiciously convenient. If I did not know better, I would think someone was trying to curry favor with me. Regardless, it will take time to decipher these writings. Yet I would not be at all surprised if they somehow held the key to entering Ixmaya unmolested. The Exarch has a nose for serendipity.
If there is aught I can do to assist thee in unraveling their secrets, thou needst only ask.
Thank you, Eorzean. I may well take you up on that offer. While we set to work, might I suggest you take a tour of the city? Should you be in any doubt as to the importance of your role as the Warrior of Darkness, the people here will surely cure you of it.
I must say, Y'shtola, while most of us have struggled to come to terms with our altered circumstances, you seem to have adapted rather well.
Lest you forget, Master Matoya and I dedicated our lives to uncovering the truth which hides at the heart of our world. Though separate, the fate of this reflection is nevertheless bound to that of our home. That I would be daunted by such an invaluable opportunity is absurd. But what of you, Thancred? Could it be that you are still struggling to come to terms with the nature of your young companion?
My struggles are none of your concern. Quite why you would speak thus and in this company, I do not know. Perhaps you left more of yourself back in the source than I assumed. If you'll excuse me.
He understands that I'm not the same. That I'm not her.
Understands, perhaps, but does not accept. The question being whether he ever will. And whether you will, more importantly. As difficult as your circumstances may be, they are yours, not his. 'Tis you and you alone who bears ultimate responsibility for your life. But you need not make any hard choices now. Why not go and get some fresh air, clear your head? It seemed only right that we show our faces. May we join you?
Let us begin. I thank you all for coming to pay respects to our fallen daughter of the night. In the light, she was known as Todia, but in the dark, we shall remember her always as Menine. Let us each take a moment to offer her our prayers. We entrust her now to the night's sweet embrace. In darkness will she be free from pain and suffering, now and forevermore. May her soul find peace in the sunless sea of heaven, and in the love we bear for her in our hearts.
That vessel represents the night sky, the sunless sea of heaven.
Call upon you now, O bringer of shadow, to lead this gentle soul unto the sea. We call upon you, O warrior of darkness, to deliver her unto paradise everlasting.
I am told you assisted in the preparations for the service. On behalf of the Blessed, you have my sincerest thanks. The enduring legend of the Warrior of Darkness owes much to the traditions of these people. And none were more ardent in their faith than Todia. She would have been greatly moved by your presence.
You might not deliver her to the heavens, but if you could deliver the night sky to her people, the real night sky, it would be the next best thing. Their prayers would finally be answered. They could gaze up at the firmament and see their ancestors in every twinkle of the stars. We cannot allow their hopes and dreams to drown in the light. We have to bring back the dark. If we don't, who will? Forgive me, thinking of all those we have lost.
No, it's all right. We will bring back the dark.
Mayhaps sooner than later, in fact. Eorzean and I finished deciphering the tablet, and its contents were most illuminating. Let us reconvene in my chambers. We have much to discuss.
These paintings, they seem familiar. Depictions of heroes throughout history. The Age of Gods, the Empire of Ronka, and this. There was a man, a researcher who pored over these pieces. He offered us work when we needed it. Slaying beasts, delivering provisions. A funny old bugger he was. But he had a good heart. He believed this first painting dated back to a time of myth and legends. A tribute to the heroes of a long-forgotten era. The story went that it was rediscovered by an explorer from Ronka, who was so struck by its majesty that a second painting was commissioned, commemorating the heroes of their day. One day you will all be here too, he said. Heroes immortalized forever. Maybe I'll paint you myself? I had a good laugh at that. We were only trying to make our way after all. Being heroes couldn't have been further from our minds. But it seems he actually went and did it. Before or after the flood, I wonder. Rather faded, isn't it, compared to the others? Or did someone try to scrape it off the wall? Well, maybe the man himself once he came to his senses. Do you suppose your deeds will warrant an addition to this collection? Or some other kind of monument?
There you are. I have everything I need. Let us quit this place. Is something the matter? We should go. The others are waiting.
Strange. The others on patrol should have returned by now. Our food will be overcooked if we wait any longer. We will just have to start without them. Would you call Master Matoya and the others?
I tire of these games, Eorzean. Why do you pretend you cannot see it? The blessing may spare him the fate of becoming a Light Warden. But you cannot be blind to the nascent corruption. He is not as he was in the source. Though I have no proof, I fear that the light which poured forth from the Wardens was not negated at all. I fear it was absorbed, that he has been suffused with their light.
Though I have given thought to this possibility, I dare not speak until more is known.
By the time you deign to enlighten us, it may be too late, if it is not already. Eorzean, I know full well, after all these years, that you have only the best of intentions. But that does not make it any easier to put my faith in a man so infatuated with secrecy. I have had my suspicions ever since the Exarch bade you speak that day. But now I must ask. The 8th Umbral Calamity and all that followed, everything you claim to have seen, did you?
Help! Someone help! The Ilmorans have come for us! We're under attack!
Lord Vorthry, how good it is to see you. How long has it been? Not since your inauguration, unless I'm mistaken. Too long, at any rate. May I say, how humbled I am to be invited not only into your city, but your home. You are as generous as ever.
And you as disingenuous. Let us dispense with the pleasantries. This merry band of dissidents people are calling Warriors of Darkness. They have slain Sin-Eaters, and by all accounts the Crystarium is complicit in their villainy. And now I hear reports of your people obstructing my soldiers, so I must ask, what exactly do you think you are doing?
I might ask you the same thing. It should be clear, even to you, that defeating the Light Wardens represents the world's only hope of survival. Even now, the people of Lakeland and Ilmeg rejoice in the return of night. For 100 years, they yearned for a means to fight back against the Sin-Eaters, and at last they have found one. Yet you choose to stand idly by and do nothing. Why?
Why? Because this hope you cling to is nothing more than a fever dream, an exercise in futility. Even should you slay the Sin-Eaters, the world as we know it is beyond salvation. With what little land and resources remain, the people would be free only to starve. Before long, they would turn to violence, then to war, and ultimately usher themselves unto oblivion. They require a firm hand to shepherd them from the edge. The hand of a king, nay, a god. I will see their dreams fulfilled, their wishes granted. I will give them peace, order, and they shall never want for bliss. Men are fickle creatures who entertain vague ideals without the faintest notion what they cost. But a little fear can go a long way towards helping them realize what it is they truly need. Sanctuary. And they shall find none in this world save that which I afford them. That is why the Sin-Eaters exist. To unite the world under my dominion.
A paradise fit to grace the 8th Umbral era.
What was that?
A minor epiphany, nothing more. You have always held sway over those around you. Those who defy you must submit or die. What sits before me is the inevitable result of bloated privilege and unchecked power. But man is more resilient than you think. His achievements are not the product of violence and bloodshed, but compassion and understanding. This calamity is but another crisis to be overcome, and we will, once we eliminate the Sin-Eaters.
You poor deluded fool. These people care not for the morrow. They care only for the now, and the contentment they lack. What good is a paradise to them if it is 1,000 years in the making, or even 100?
You underestimate them, Lord Vorthry. They see further than you think. I have beheld it in the blood and sweat and tears of those who would sacrifice everything for a future they may never know, that their children may never know. I have beheld it in the hopes and dreams of those who came before, which we bequeath to those who come after, that they might in turn build upon the foundations laid by our forebears. These are the bonds which hold man and his world together, not your gilded chains, and I will resist your every effort to shackle him.
In summary, you will continue to support the villains hunting my Sin-Eaters?
With tremendous enthusiasm, for I have faith in the future they would build.
Oh, why do I even bother? Fools, the lot of you! So naive! So painfully predictable! Did you imagine I did not know your mind? That I would wait until after this meeting to dispatch my forces? Even as we speak, they march to the Sin-Eaters' defense. Insurrection will not be tolerated! The people of this world are mine to rule, mine to command. And you are no exception! What? How did he... Insolent swine! I will not stand for this! Do you hear me?
You speak for the Knights Blessed?
I do. I presume that is your doing. If you have come to parley, I must insist that you first return him to us.
You're in no position to make demands. By Lord Vorthry's decree, Raktika now falls under the governance of Yulmore. You will henceforth answer to us.
Is that so? And the children of the Everlasting Dark have acquiesced to this madness?
We have reached an accord, yes. Too many times have the Knights Blessed shunned Yulmore's overtures of friendship. The risk that you harbor hostile intentions has grown too great to ignore. Therefore, his lordship has claimed dominion over this forest and bestowed executive authority upon the children of the Everlasting Dark.
In his wisdom, Lord Vorthry has agreed to recognize ours as the only permissible expression of dark worship. It's one true faith. You and your false creed are a blight on these woods. A foul, unholy corruption that must be cleansed. Little wonder the Warrior of Darkness visits both Lakeland and Ilmeg, yet shuns Raktika. Your perverted teachings hold blessed Shadow at bay.
You have accepted the yoke of Yulmore to spite us, then? Fools. Darkness will never return to these skies while they hold sway.
Those of you minded to obey his lordship are to make for woven oath with all haste. We will leave you, but you may have time to prepare.
Woven oath? Are you suggesting we abandon our fate to join those zealots?
What has your faith afforded you thus far? Nothing! We will guide you along the righteous path.
And should we refuse?
Anyone found here upon our return will be considered a traitor to Yulmore, and dealt with as such.
We will discuss these developments after I have tended to our casualty. It would seem we have found them.
You trespass upon sacred ground! Begone!
We did not come to! Stop! We mean you no harm!
Sister, is that...
We are allies of the Empire of Ronka. As is customary, we come bearing the seal of the Emperor.
It appears to be genuine. Then perhaps there's yet hope.
Perhaps. We acknowledge your seal, but we must be certain of its authenticity. Follow the azure flowers to our village. There we will judge if you are friend or foe.
Try not to stray from the path. All right?
Follow the flowers. Would it kill them to escort us? But if it affords us an opportunity to investigate Ixmaya, fine. It seems to be working. I think not.
General, hold on! Huh?
Expertly done.
How was I to know that that would happen? It looked like any other part of the floor! Might now be an opportune time to strike a bargain? We poisoned a number of villagers in Slitherbough with a toxin brewed for us by the children. This is the antidote. I dare say you know how potent their concoctions are, and the futility of trying to counteract their effects. Now, try anything here, and we're all likely to fall. Eventually someone will come to our rescue, or yours. Promise us safe passage, and we'll give you the antidote. Do we have a deal?
We do not negotiate with the enemy. The villagers' lives are forfeit, as is yours.
General?
Do not fail.
How noble. and pointless.
Is everyone all right? What in the...
Eorzean! At once! Down with you!
Where is Y'shtola? Runar. Thank goodness.
We delivered the antidote to Slitherbough, and from what we could gather on the way here, the Ulmorans have had the good manners to withdraw. Thank the gods they did, or we would never have made it here in time. I'm told we have Runar and his comrades to thank for keeping the soldiers occupied prior to their retreat. They were preparing to come for you and Y'shtola, it seems, when Runar rallied the villagers and pursued them out of Slitherbough.
In the care of the Vis. Thou art safe now, friend. Pray, rest thee a while longer.
No. No, I am all right. Somewhat heavy of limb, perhaps, but otherwise well, I assure you. I am glad to see you are all safe. When we realized where the soldiers were headed, we knew something had to be done. I do not see Master Matoya. She was with you, yes? What happened to her? Spare me your riddles and speak plain. Where is Master Matoya? No. No. No, that cannot be. Why would she do such a thing? Was there no other way? I cannot believe that she... We must begin the search immediately. I will come with you.
What are you waiting for? We must find her! She could be trapped, or hurt, or... She is alive. She is alive, damn you!
Forgive me for interrupting, but our scouts have apprehended an intruder. We thought perhaps he might be an associate of yours.
Oh, look who it is.
Well, this is embarrassing. In my defense, they are surprisingly tenacious. So, what trouble have you gotten yourselves into this time? Well, well. What an intriguing turn of events. My condolences, by the way. It is never easy to lose the ones we love. Well, she is dead, isn't she? Wishing it were otherwise will not make it so.
That you should be indifferent to her loss is no surprise. But to us, she was a friend. The best of friends.
You have something on your mind. What is it?
Pray recount to us again that which thou witnessed in the ruins, omitting not the slightest detail. Flow.
The teleportation magic she used to spirit us away from Uldar after the bloody banquet. I recall a similar gale in the tunnel before it took effect.
Interesting. I thought I sensed a brief disturbance in the live stream. How reassuring to know it was not my imagination. I felt it only once, I should mention, which would suggest she is still adrift on its currents.
Then I fear she may yet be lost to us. For it was only by the grace of the elementals that she was plucked from that great ethereal river.
Ah, very well. I'll go and fetch her. Perhaps a clear and unambiguous act of kindness will serve to win the trust you seem so determined to deny me.
Yes, this place should serve well enough.
Might I have a little space? I need to concentrate. Now then, what color was her soul again? Ah, there you are.
He's done it. He's brought her back!
Stola, are you all right?
Yes, though I cannot imagine how. What happened?
Thou didst invoke the power of flow, which thence did usher thy soul unto the life stream.
I wanted to save the antidote, and after that... I did something exceedingly reckless, for which you will just have to forgive me.
Master Matoya! Oh, thank the heavens you're all right. I had nearly given up hope.
Please, Renard, dry your tears. What would the others think if they saw you like this? Come now. Did you really think I would go gently into that dark night with so much left undone? So many mysteries left unsolved.
Is there aught you wish to say to me? A word of thanks, perhaps?
Emmet Selk, the Ascian of whom I spoke. 'Twas he who plucked thee from the life stream.
I see. Thank you. Differences notwithstanding, you saved my life, and for that I am grateful. But let us turn our attention to more important matters, such as the Katana Ravel. You had better not have explored its depths without me.
Well, Almet and the others should be pleased to see you in such uncharacteristically high spirits. Let us return to Fanoff then, and discuss the coming expedition.
The Light Warden is dead. The Blessed's prayers have been answered.
Aye, that they have.
His condition yet troubleth thee?
It does. Though he shows no immediate signs of corruption, the danger remains. He must be told. Would you describe it to me, Eorzean? Paint for me a picture with your words.
A sea of shimmering stars. Diamonds strewn across a raven gown. Boundless and beautiful. 'Tis an exquisite sight, not unlike that of the source. Calm and gentle and forgiving.
I can see it.
For however deep the void, or wide the expanse, there is no shore so distant as to be beyond the reach of light. Ominous though that may sound, given our present travails.
Well fought. Let us return home. The murals. If I am not mistaken, they predate the Empire.
How can you tell?
A peculiarity of the paint. Most are made from mineral-based pigments. But whatever was used here is older than anything I have ever seen. According to Almet, this sanctuary was built to preserve the wisdom of the ancients. What events do these murals commemorate, I wonder?
Must you always linger after defeating your enemies? Navigating these halls on foot is exhausting.
Come to lead us to safety, have you?
I was bored. But how is the hero of the hour? Fighting fit, I see. Keep up the good work.
You're plotting something.
Every hour of every day. But never you mind about that. As I have told you 1,000 times before, I like to watch. Nothing more. Well, I would quit this place, and I suggest you do the same. There is yet work to be done. There is a sight to bring a tear to the eye.
You recognize these scenes?
That I do. Indeed, there was a time when anyone and everyone would. Until one calamitous day when the world was divided across 10 and 3 reflections, sundering the land and all who dwelled upon it. And the worst part? No one could remember it. Not really. Just fragments and fleeting memories of an achingly familiar world. A vision shared of a paradise lost, preserved only in song and scripture and paint. Once upon a time. Yet here we find ourselves again, to look, learn, and remember.
Then share with us the stories you know so well. We are listening.
Before the Great Sundering, there was one world. A world that knew naught but peace and prosperity. Until it was faced with a crisis. Unprecedented, terrifying. Civilization found itself perched upon a precipice, staring into oblivion. But through prayer and sacrifice, the will of the star was made manifest. Zodiac was his name. And by his grace was the calamity averted.
Zodiac.
A savior mighty and magnificent, deserving of reverence and gratitude. One would have thought, yet some thought otherwise. From the fears of these naysayers would rise Hydaelyn. She who was to serve as his shackles, to bind him and hold him in check. And so they fought, and they fought, and they fought, and in the end, Hydaelyn was victorious. With all her strength, she smote him, dealing a blow so devastating that it split the very fabric of reality. And thus was Zodiac banished and his being divided. That concludes today's lesson on long-forgotten history. Though I imagine your mother would offer a rather contradictory account, as is her wont.
I'm sorry, I can only assume I misheard. But it sounded an awful lot like you were implying both Zodiac and Hydaelyn are not gods. But...
What? Not gods of the first? Is that what you thought these paintings depicted? Or... Oh. They are gods after a fashion, yes. But no different from the kind with which you are so intimately acquainted. Formed of faith and prayer, of conviction and devotion. The eldest and most powerful of primals.
You have spun quite a tale. Yet you have not explained the role of the Ascians in all of this. How is it you are privy to ancient secrets lost to time?
Finally you ask the right question. And shrewd questions warrant honest answers. We Ascians know because it is our history, our story. It was we who summoned Zodiac, we natives of that sundered paradise. Now, do you see why we yearn for the great rejoining? For our world, for our people, for all creation to be made whole again. Wouldn't you wish for the same?
Ah, you are returned, and none the worse for wear, I see.
You needn't worry about us. What became of the Eomoran soldiers, more importantly?
They turned tail and fled at the sight of the night sky. The children of the everlasting dark have also retreated back to Woven Oath. Try as they might, they could not deny the truth of their own eyes. The sunless sea of heaven, full of love and grace, where none need know pain or suffering. In that moment, when the sky's light began to wane, I knew our prayers had been answered. That we were doomed to face oblivion at life's end no longer. When first we met, I harbored certain suspicions about you. Now I see that I was right. You are the bringers of shadow, the warriors of darkness, the saviors for whom we have prayed for so long.
I suppose you're not entirely wrong. But we are not worthy of your reverence, nor have we any desire to be worshipped. If you would pray, pray for your children, that they may one day know a better world.
I will do as you say. Please, let us at least hold a feast to celebrate your victory. You deserve that much.
I'm sorry, Runar, but there is still much to be done and scant time in which to do it. We must go. All of us. For we share the same path and the same fate.
So be it. I ask only that you hold us in your hearts, as we would hold you in ours. Now, and ever after. By the boundless dark, this I swear.
So there's a light sealed inside you, is there? You wouldn't know it from the outside. You look the same as you ever did to me. True enough. Packing up and going home isn't really an option, is it? If you don't face the music here, it'll only come and find you there. Think he was telling the truth? Emmett, I mean. All that rot about Hydaelyn being no different from any other primal. If so, what would that make her blessing? Are we just slaves to her will? Let's pay him no mind. Lies the Ascian stock in trade. Villains, heroes, all a matter of perspective, they'd have you believe. One man's fond memory, another's waking nightmare. Me, I'm no saint or savior. Just another sinner. And I know damn well I'm in no position to judge. When I saw the people of Slitherbough look up at the sky and celebrate the return of the dark, felt good. It was moments like that that I cherished. Much more than the thrill of adventure. The quiet after the storm. I always took comfort in that.
What did the scouts have to report?
Several skirmishes, but nothing of consequence. The fighting seems to have taken its toll on both sides.
A stalemate, then. The Alliance has done well to hold the line for so long. But then they did have Ishgardian reinforcements.
Nevertheless, neither side has any appetite for a prolonged engagement. 'Tis but the calm before the storm. And should the Empire choose to bring their full might to bear...
To say nothing of Black Rose. All the more reason to hasten our search. How close are your people to identifying our next target?
Close enough, though I have received some troubling intelligence. One of our generals posted to the Alamegan front recently disappeared without trace from the battlefield at Gimlet Dark.
Odd. Dead seems unlikely. Fled less so. I wonder where he'll turn up.
Were I a betting man, I would say here, in the capital. Not that any deserter who valued his life would contemplate returning, but a corpse might, given the right encouragement.
In the manner of his royal remains, you mean?
Elidibus plainly has no need of a new host, so the question becomes who? It may be that another player has joined the game. Something to consider at any rate. But come, there's work to be done.
These bloodless games make for poor sport. Mayhap if father... I am a stranger to him in this body. Besides, there is but one hand that can make me whole again. My enemy. My friend. I know not what entertainment occupies you, but if you will not clear the way for me, then I shall seize the reins of fate once more.
Zenith sighted! They're coming!
Excellent. The barrier is holding.
That's good news for the Crystarian, but what of the rest of Lakeland?
Lena and the city guard have taken to the field. Thancred and the others have already joined them. Let us do the same.
There are so many.
Fuck! Damn it!
Lena! Lena, hold on.
They turned on me.
This one is mine!
We need only hold out a little while longer. Reinforcements are coming, remember? The captain said so. We're going to be all right.
Run! Run, damn you!
The Warrior of Darkness has returned. The Bloody Knight has returned. So stay with me, eh? can't go dying now.
God damn it! Please let this work. Please let this work.
No. No, no. Stay back. Stay back.
Help! Help! Anyone! Why did you spare me? Why? What have I done to deserve this mercy?
Forward! Forward! If you can still hold a sword, follow me! Wounded to the rear! Weapons at the ready! Let's make this count!
Fight and struggle. Seek salvation by your own hands. Though the losses be grave, endure them. Though the victories be hollow, claim them.
Oh, I did not see you there. Is there something you need? Injuries are part and parcel of battle. While there's breath in my lungs, I shall see my duties done. Don't pretend you're not of the same mind. You fought well today. Saved a great many lives. Thank you. Unfortunately, this war is far from over. We must replenish our ranks and shore up our defenses before they attack again. Now, if you will excuse me. I am fine. Completely and utterly fine. Better than fine. Hale and hearty and still alive to mourn those who are not. Who I failed to protect when they needed me most. We've come so far, so goddamn far. I could have sworn the end was in sight, and now... Now they will never see it.
Impudent worms of the Crystarium! The tragedy that has befallen you is of your own making. Divine retribution for your defiance. The heavens have bequeathed to you a benevolent savior, me. I offer you freedom from pain and suffering, a paradise where man and sin-eater might live in peace and harmony. Why, already, our winged brothers and sisters regard me and mine as kin, alike to them in beauty and purity. But you not only reject my prophet hand, but raise your own against my sin-eaters. But it's only right that they respond in kind. Let this be a lesson to all those who would walk the path of sin. The wicked shall not inherit this world!
My friends, with your aid, we have weathered a brutal assault.
Sorry I'm late, though I would not have been had anyone thought to notify me in advance.
As I was saying, it was only with your aid that we weathered this assault. Without it, the Crystarium and all who dwell here would now be gone.
For each we saved, another perished. If there is anything else we can do to help, anything at all, you need only ask. This is our home too, and we want nothing more than to keep it safe.
Thank you. We are blessed to have you with us. As for the attack itself, Vorthri may call it divine retribution, but Sin Eaters are creatures of instinct. A coordinated assault is unprecedented. Moreover, in the absence of a Light Warden, there should have been no compulsion for lesser Sin Eaters to congregate here en masse. All of which points to a single, unavoidable conclusion.
That these minions of light answer to a higher power. He who did claim kinship with them, who did boast of control, not in idleness, 'twould seem, but in earnest. Lord Vorthri.
Indeed. What I mistook for bluster was in fact the truth. The Sin Eaters are his to command. But if he imagines this show of force will convince us to bend the knee, he is sorely mistaken.
I take it your meeting in Yulmore did not end well.
You could say that, yes. But I am wiser for the experience nevertheless. It appears he has mastered a technique which allows him to enslave the minds of others. A fact I discovered when he attempted to use it on me.
That would go some way towards explaining the peculiar reverence afforded him by his subjects. There may feasibly be a handful of true believers among them, I suppose, but it would not surprise me if the vast majority were in his thrall.
Had I not anticipated his treachery, I might well have joined them. But seeing his invitation for what it was, I sent a glamour in my stead. I rather doubt such tricks will avail me a second time, however.
Did you have any luck tracking down the Light Warden in Calusia?
Sadly, I have nothing to report on that front. What of Arm-Arang?
After a fruitless few days scouring ruins, I resorted to asking the locals. While no one I spoke to had seen any sign of the Warden, I did uncover a possible lead. An abandoned mine in western Arm-Arang. From what the Mord told me, it would be a perfect place to stay out of sight. Of course, I could never hope to explore such a labyrinth quickly or safely on my own, so I returned here.
Even should we all join in the endeavor, an exhaustive search could take weeks, and with no guarantee of finding anything.
The Wardens harbor vast reservoirs of primordial light, do they not? Far beyond anything found in lesser Sin Eaters. And isn't it true that the Oracle could see the light of a Sin Eater from miles away? Surely a Warden would seem like a blazing beacon by comparison. To the real Oracle of Light, I mean. The real Menphilia. If we travel to Armoreng, to the south where she halted the flood, I could summon her back. What do you think?
Don't.
Don't what? Do what I can. What we both know is right.
Do not presume to know my mind. You have no idea what you're proposing.
But I do! I know why you never said anything. Because you thought you could keep me safe by keeping me in the dark. And maybe I thought so too. But I knew, Thancred. I always knew.
Oh, I see. I thought you were a rather underwhelming reincarnation. But it all makes sense now. The Oracle lies dormant within you, doesn't she? But to draw on her true power, you must become one, both body and soul. To wit, one being must consume the other. Who shall be the lucky winner?
This doesn't concern you, Ascian.
But it plainly concerns you. Which is why your heart is ready to burst out of your chest. Despite the raging tempest in your bosom, however, you have never once opened up to your young charge. Now, why would that be? Love. Well, I for one think it's a marvelous idea. Certainly more promising than any of your other suggestions. So, it's off to Armoreng we go.
I'll meet you at the gates.
Take comfort in the bonds you share. Accept the pain when the time comes to part. Press on, for joy and sorrow walk hand in hand. Beyond Mount Garrick lie the hills of Amber, beneath which run hidden veins of mineral wealth. Or ran, at least. Mayhap they are spent. Or mayhap the ringing of hammers can yet be heard below.
Magnus's wife was a miner, you know. Greatest prospector there ever was. When the golem hearts started failing, she was the first to head out in search of more. Problem was, most of the veins ran dry ages ago, and finding fresh ones to tap's only gotten harder. But she wasn't one to be deterred. She just kept digging deeper and deeper. And then the mine collapsed. We labored day and night to clear away the rubble, but it took us 2 months to find her. To find her body. Magnus has never been the same since.
Where is he, if you don't mind my asking?
Ah, yes, well, if he's not here, there's only one other place he'd be.
What? Oh, you again. How many times must I tell you? The trolley won't run! We'd be better off dismantling the damn thing and selling the parts for scrap. Now, piss off back to wherever you came from. And don't let me catch you around here again.
What were their names?
My son was named Skuli. My wife, Agna. Being here with them, it beats going home. Home stopped being home when I lost them. I thought to try and drown my sorrows, but somehow, the bottle's never deep enough.
No bottle is. Believe me, I know.
You've lost someone too?
Not like you. Not my own flesh and blood. I grew up an orphan, so I never really knew what family meant. Not until I met a man who offered to take me in and make me his pupil. He was a kindly soul, always looking out for me, like a father. Not that I appreciated that at the time, or anything else for that matter. But I finally had a family. And then I robbed a young girl of hers. I did my best to make amends, to offer her comfort. But the more I look back on it, the more I realize just how inadequate my efforts were. I let her down. That is why I refuse to let her legacy die. In the end, all we can do is press on, for those we have lost, for those we can yet save. And that requires your Talos. Please, Magnus. You are our only hope of reaching Nabarth Areng.
What rubbish.
She's not gone. No matter what you say or believe, she's not. We can still bring her back.
You may not remember this about Arminfilia, but prior to founding the Path of the 12, long before the Scions, She was something of a miner. After her father died, Flamine took her in and taught her the trade. I think they were both seeking to fill the void left by a loved one. Maybe that's why she took to it so readily. Back in those days, I spent most of my time in the Quicksand, or some other tavern, loosening tongues and gathering secrets. Occasionally, I'd catch a glimpse of her in the street, on her way home after another hard day's work. I always felt a wave of relief when I saw she'd come back safe, along with a pang of guilt at the fact I wasn't there to support her as I should have been. Simply speaking with her more than once in a blue moon would have been a good start, but I could never bring myself to do it. Instead, I threw myself into my work and became every drunkard's best friend. Not too highly, no. She once called me a wine-sodden wharf rat, which wouldn't have been half as galling had it not been so accurate. But that was a lifetime ago. Here and now I have another chance to do things right, and I will not squander it again.
Hey! Come and see what I found! You're not going to believe this!
Tell me it's Leonine.
It is at that. You lot were born lucky. It's mostly broken pieces. But look at this.
This is a rather fine specimen.
It's been decades since we found anything approaching this big. But that's not all. There's an engraving on it.
Ah, these scratches here. They're a little hard to make out. To my beloved Magnus and Schoolie.
Yes! Do you see? It was a gift to Magnus from his wife. She found it. She really found it. She must have spent her final hours carving this message into the stone, in the hope that he might see it one day. Those rock-backed bastards must have made off with it before we could clear a path to her. It's fate that brought you here to find this stone. No other explanation. It makes me wonder what else might still be buried in these parts.
Preparations for the enchantment are complete. When the heart hath been suffused with a sufficient quantity of ether, the golem should be restored to life.
All right then. Whenever you're ready. It's working! It's working! Magnus!
You left me for this? This wretched heap of stone and rubble? This worthless pile of earth? And yet, I can't. I can't.
What troubleth thee, child?
I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be. I don't deserve any of the things you've done for me. I'm just a burden, helpless and hopeless. If tomorrow came and I was gone, it would be better for everyone. Thancred most of all. He'll never admit it, but I can see it in his eyes. I wish he'd just say it. Just say that he hates me, that he wishes I was dead so that she could return.
None of this is thy doing, child. 'Twas I who set the oracle on her path unto the first. I who condemned you all to suffer these torments. 'Tis my sin alone, and one that will haunt me unto my dying day. Yet I dare not dwell overlong on my many regrets, for the world is a tapestry of fates, interwoven and inseparable. And we who strive to better it cannot choose but make difficult decisions. For naught of worth was ever achieved without sacrifice. And thus must man ever struggle to weigh life against loss. The one for whom thou mournest beareth no grudge. Were she here, she would not suffer thee to languish in sorrow. She would tell thee to seek thine own path, thine own purpose. It is a truth which I myself was slow to learn. Yet a truth it remaineth. Thou needst but have faith, and all will be well.
Not today.
To what do I owe the pleasure that is your extended stay?
Oh, to the tediousness of our hero's present endeavors. That and the insufferable abundance of light in Armorang. I should be glad to keep my distance. Oh, I'm rather fond of sleep, you know. It's a wonderful way to pass the time. Not that my compeers would agree, mind you. Always on the move, the lot of them. Like La Hebrea, constantly jumping from vessel to vessel. Such fire, such determination. So much passion, fleeting and forgotten. Come to think of it, Exarch, I don't believe I've ever seen you retire to your chambers for so much as 40 winks. However do you keep your eyes from closing? The cold shoulder. You wound me, sir. Always so guarded in our every interaction. Interactions you curiously refrain from sharing with the Scions and their champion.
And risk souring your budding relationship? I think not. Much as I dislike you, there are more useful targets for his energies. And I'm not in the habit of pointing him at my enemies like a weapon.
Is that right? Fond of him, are you? You continue to fascinate me, Exarch. But tell me, who are you? The once great nation whose ingenuity gave birth to this tower was shaped by my hand. As such, I know full well the wonders it can facilitate and those it cannot. There is nothing in these walls which could have aided you in summoning our dear friend across time and space. Much less in possession of his mortal flesh, not even I could have performed such a feat.
I see. You had a hand in Allag as well. You would know what I am? I am the adjudicator of the sacred history with which you dared trifle. I am keeper of this tower's boundless wisdom. The wisdom of ages without age, of everywhere and nowhere. The great work of those who tamed the wings of time and grasped the nature of the rift. 'Tis a boon born of the sacrifice of brave heroes who gave their lives for a brighter future. I will not see their hopes and dreams squandered. The history which led us here will be unwritten. I promise you that.
Well, it seems we're both eager to fulfill our duties then.
On that much, we are in agreement.
Eorzean?
Thou must needs carry on without me. The path to Nabartha lieth open. Whilst thou travellest thither to the south, I would apprise Mistress Alize and the others of our progress. As circumstances permit, I will thereafter rejoin the hunt for the remaining Light Wardens.
Magnus, will the gate close immediately after the trolley passes through?
No, it will stay open until someone closes it manually. Built that way to prevent any untimely accidents.
Then you and the others can meet us in Nabarth Areng, after giving the Ilmorans the slip.
Eorzean. Thank you for everything.
Remember, thou needst but have faith.
If you've finished with your goodbyes, I suggest you grab hold of something. Be a shame if you took a tumble. The tracks beyond the gate aren't in the best of shape, so the trolley can only go as far as Malik. Godspeed!
Ah, that must be the gate.
Well, so far so good.
Wait, is that Ranjit?
You're a stubborn old swine, aren't you?
One who has mastered Gukumots fears not the blackest pit or the fieriest hell. Your deeds in the east did not go unnoticed. Long have I lain in wait, and sure enough, you did not disappoint. Had you only sworn fealty to Lord Vorthri, you'd have no cause to skulk about like frightened animals. You will remain as you are, while I dispatch these villains.
No, I won't. I won't let you.
You forget to whom you speak. Who armed you, trained you, fought and killed 1,000 sin-eaters with you? And when you were inevitably cut down and lay lifeless in my arms, who sought out your successor to carry on the futile struggle again and again? We seek to bring peace to what is left of this shattered land, while these mad fools would only bring further chaos down upon us. Do not be deceived, child. Only by Lord Vorthri's hand will this dying world know a sliver of salvation.
I don't know about the world, but I never asked to be saved. However much it hurts, and however hard it gets, it's my life, and I want to live it on my own terms. And those mad fools you want me to abandon. The ones I've traveled with, fought with, and may one day die with. They feel the same. So no, I will not be deceived. No matter what you say, I refuse to believe it's all for nothing. They're everything to me. All I have, and all I need. And I would gladly do anything for them. Let us pass, or kill me. I'm not leaving here without them.
How dare you! Very well. If you would cast your lot with villains, then you shall share their fate.
I heard what you said, and I'm sorry for all the things I've left unspoken. You have to go, now!
Tancred, no!
Go! Do what you came here to do. I'll not have you waste that newfound resolve on me. I leave her in your hands. Hurry! Not another step! Your fight is with me!
You think yourself a protector? As if a whelp like you could be a better father to her than me! You would have her suffer and die. I would spare her that fate.
That is not for you or anyone else to decide, ever again. Not a single day goes by that I don't think about all that you have given me. Countless memories and moments I took for granted. Gods, you grew up so fast. But you had to, didn't you? For those you had lost. For those you could yet save. A world teetering on the very brink of oblivion, for which you gave your everything, without hesitation. Your kindness, your compassion, your love. Then and now.
One last time, with a little help. I'm so proud to have been a part of your life. Oh, Minfilia.
Run for your lives! It's the flood! The flood!
The end is nigh!
Look! There's somebody up there! On top of the palace!
No! Stand back! We shall stay the flood.
But this is what I want! It's my sacrifice to make!
Your time has not yet come. When all hangs in the balance, you must give them hope.
Minfilia!
This place. Ours is a meeting long overdue. Full glad am I that we may finally speak. My dear, sweet child, yours is a burden none should ever be forced to bear. Such pain and suffering you have endured, yet still you came. For this and more, I thank you.
I've lost count of the times I've almost given up. If people hadn't helped me every step of the way, I never would have made it.
Yet here you stand, resolved. Now, tell me your heart's desire.
To defeat the Sin Eaters, and bring this world back from the brink. The remaining Wardens have hidden themselves from us. But with the power of the Oracle, I thought we might be able to find them.
Indeed you could. Their radiance would be unmistakable. But know, my child, that the power you seek will come at a price. We stand now at the crossroads. A decision must be made. 'Tis only natural to be afraid, to hesitate. But for your many trials, you have grown stronger and wiser. And with the love and support of those you hold dear, you have grown to love yourself.
The flood has washed away so much of this world. So many people and places and possibilities, and all the heroes who fought to protect them. Yet here the Scions are, trying so hard to help those few of us who remain, and seeing how tirelessly they work, how completely committed they are to the cause. I can't help but believe. But I want to do more than just watch and cheer. I want to make a difference. I want to help them, like they helped me, and maybe even inspire others to do the same. Coming together, providing for one another. That's the only way forward I can see. Since all of our heroes are gone, we'll just have to make heroes of ourselves.
'Tis a beautiful, wonderful dream. One we share. Though my power was all but spent in staying the flood, I prayed this final act would give hope to those who survived. That self-same hope lives on in you. It gives me comfort to know that the future is in capable hands. If ever you should falter, remember this. No one, however powerful, is immune to the whisperings of doubt and despair. Do not give in to them, but do not deny them either. Look instead to the light within, that you may continue to serve as a beacon to others.
Thank you, Minfilia, for believing in us, for believing in me.
Dearest friend, no words can express my gratitude to you for keeping her safe in these tumultuous times. You are a hero to us both. But not even the most valiant heroes can stand alone. Only together may you change the fate of two worlds.
Ah, there you are. We were worried.
Really? He wasn't the one that nearly got himself killed. It's a good thing Eorzean called on us when he did. You were at death's door when we found you.
But thanks to your timely ministrations, I was not obliged to walk through it.
Minfilia?
You saw her.
I know I haven't exactly been pulling my weight up till now, but that's all going to change, starting today. I'll do whatever it takes to make Minfilia's dream a reality. I can track the Light Wardens now, maybe even help you fight them.
I'm glad you're back.
You don't have to say that, you know.
But I want to. Your family. How else would I feel?
She will need a name.
A name?
A name of her own. I would not have her walk in the shadow of another any longer. And I think it a fitting tribute to our departed friend, too. At the mention of Minfilia, I would remember the woman who preserved our fellowship when all seemed lost.
Do you remember what you were called before you were taken to Yulmore?
I'm sorry, I don't. I couldn't have been very old when it happened.
Then we must think of a new name. Suggestions?
If the lady herself has no preference, I think the honor should rightly fall to Thancred. After all they have been through together, he's practically a father to her.
Well spotted! I'm so glad you're here to explain these things.
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing.
What about Reem?
Ah, blessing in Fae. Wait, doth this mean thou wert listening when I delivered my lectures on the Pixies?
Not exactly, but that one word made an impression. Of course, if it's not to your liking, I can think of something else.
Reem. Yes, Yes, I rather like the sound of it. Thank you.
That settles it then. Welcome aboard, Reen.
I won't let you down.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad those travelers made it all the way to Nabartha Reng. But when Eorzean told me the Talos was in pieces, and the trolley didn't look much better, I couldn't help wondering what in the hells had gone on.
What indeed? At least the heart is in one piece. The rest is replaceable. Looking at this mess, though, it's a miracle they survived.
You can say that again.
What the? Are you seeing this?
The sky. It...
At last, night has returned to Amareng. We'll save this broken world yet, Tesleen. You see if we don't.
No doubt retreating in the wake of the Warden's demise.
Back to Calusia, the last refuge of light.
Home to our dear Lord Vorthri, who will no doubt do everything in his power to thwart us.
As well he should, for defeat there would spell the end for both him and his heavenly host. There the fate of this star shall be decided.
And sometimes the dead would rather not be disturbed. But enough about me. What of Amareng? I see. Minfili is gone, then. Which means the reason I must suffer this purgatory shall forever remain a mystery.
What's the matter? Are you all right?
What just happened?
Minfilia said my time had not yet come. That I still had a role to play. Not even the most valiant heroes can stand alone. No, it couldn't be. There's only one hero in this room, and it is not me. I'm just a shadow, cursed to wander.
Forgive the intrusion, but Minfilia, that is, Reem, and the others were asking after you. Is everything all right? That pain again? And did it pass? Thank goodness for that. I would not wish to see you suffer. Though I know only too well how much you have suffered on our behalf in recent days. Indeed, I have no right to impose upon you further. Nevertheless, I must ask one thing of you. That you survive this, no matter what. When the dust settles, you must return to your world, for the battles to come, and the wars yet unwon. The final Light Warden is all that stands between us and victory. There is still much we must do to prepare, but for now, I will see if there is aught that may remedy the strange affliction which plagues you. Of that I have no doubt. Even if I had my pick of every Reflections heroes, I could not have asked for a finer champion. I'll not keep you from your rest any longer. Take as much time as you like. There you are. May I assume you've had your fill of rest? That is well. Now that we are all present, let us speak of our plan. Thus far, we have vanquished 4 Light Wards, restoring Night to much of Northrend. Only one remains, that of Calusia. And with Reen to guide us, I am certain we will find it.
We're so close now. If we can just take care of this one last warden, we'll rob the Sin Eaters of their final foothold and drive them out of Norvrant once and for all. It will be a new beginning for the First. A chance for the people to rebuild their world.
In short, a prize worth fighting for.
And in thus delivering the First from destruction, so too shall we unsow the seeds of the 8th Umbral Calamity.
Do you hear? Your dreams of rejoining is in jeopardy. Are you sure you're not tempted to intervene?
You labor under the misapprehension that vanquishing the Sin Eaters is tantamount to saving the world. It is not. In truth, you only delay the inevitable, lengthening your fleeting lives by the smallest of margins. Twould be churlish of me to deny you this small concession, close as we've become. Foolish and misguided though you are not without charm. Each and every one of you is possessed of a noble heart. When the weak want for succor, you do not hesitate to provide it. Alas, your nobility is short-sighted. You think only of the problem in front of your nose. A limitation of your ephemeral existence.
Our lives may seem short and insignificant to the likes of you, but one does not need to be an eternal being to achieve lasting change.
If I may stop you there, I do not claim that we Ascians are special. That is another misconception. In the beginning, everyone lived nigh for eternity. Such was the natural order of things. But like so much else, this was taken from you. You won't object if I borrow your plaything? In the distant past, when the world was one and whole, a great calamity threatened all life. It began without warning. The very laws of the star were warped and broken, and chaos swiftly spread throughout the land. Faced with annihilation, we sought to imbue the star with its own will. Thus was Zodiac born, and by his power was order restored. Ere long, however, thankless fools began to fear that Zodiac's might was too great, and so they conjured another to keep him in check. Your own dear Hydaelyn.
And the two beings waged war until, with a single devastating blow, Hydaelyn unmade Zodiac, scattering his being across space and time. So you told us in the Katana Ravel.
Yes. And there began our woes, with Hydaelyn's blow and all that it wrought. As a counterbalance to Zodiac, Hydaelyn was created with the power to enervate her foe. This singular ability strikes not at such banal things as flesh, but everything that defines the target, diluting its existence. For example, were she to strike you, two individuals, identical in appearance yet reduced in all respects. Strength, intelligence, the soul itself, all is halved. Do you see? This self-same fate befell not only Zodiac, but the very star. Only 3 were fortunate enough to escape the Sunbury, me being one of them. When I beheld the shattered remnants of our home, I knew deepest despair. The inhabitants of these 14 fragments were feeble, frail and foolish, oblivious to their imperfection, ignorant of their past. Malformed creatures thrashing blindly about. Pitiful, disturbing, depressing. So, we took it upon ourselves to rejoin the worlds. But in our eagerness and, I confess, our ignorance, we erred and made a useless void of the 13th. It was only afterwards that we discovered a connection twixt source and shard. A flow of energy that maintains elemental balance. And thus did we arrive at our time-honored modus operandi.
From a purely Ascian standpoint, it could be said that what you seek to do is only logical. But that would be to ignore the immeasurable destruction wrought with each rejoining. You have murdered millions, and this we cannot condone.
By your fragmented existence, you continue to give rise to tragedies far crueler than any calamity. But yes, moral relativism and all that. Case in point, I do not consider you to be truly alive, ergo I will not be guilty of murder if I kill you. Oh, don't look at me like that. You for whom I have only the highest expectations. A vaunted hero of the Source, 7 times rejoined. Long have I awaited one who might brave a path of lesser tragedy. A resilient soul able to endure the necessary pain. I dare to hope that my wait is over. So, finish your task and slay the Light Warden. Make proof of your usefulness, and then we may speak again.
Forgive me, my lord, but this could not wait.
Speak freely, Captain.
Our informant in Colusia sends word of unusual activity in Yulmore. It appears their forces are entrenching themselves at key points throughout the city, making ready for an attack by all indications.
An intriguing use of resources. I rather doubt Lord Vorthry is concerned for the safety of his citizens.
You think he's harboring the Light Warden inside the city walls? Even if he does have some means of controlling the Sin Eaters, wouldn't that be a little risky?
Risky or not, if there is even a chance the Warden is hiding there, we will need to act fast. The longer we wait, the better prepared the Yulmorans will be.
Agreed. See to your preparations then and make for Colusia. God's willing, this hunt will be the last. Let us see it through to the end.
We should begin by assembling in Right. There we may assess the situation in Yulmore and decide how best to proceed.